Is France more attractive than, say, a year ago, Pascal?
It looks that the figures are telling us this, right? In fact, Americas, the US, have been becoming, again, our largest investors. We just published a report by which we had in excess of 1,300 large projects, maintaining or creating up to 33,000 jobs. And the US took back the lead in front of Germany. So the concept of being much more welcoming to foreign investors is really playing full completely, right?
Now, we know that President Macron's ratings have been going down slightly because of labour market reforms and other reforms, which make him probably more popular with companies. But we have also heard about strikes and things like that. Is that deterring anybody from coming to France?
The hard fact is that for 2 or 3 decades, never a president after a year in office has had such a good rating. No, there is no question that when you do reforms, you create basically dissatisfactions. And the old job is going to be the one in the next years to demonstrate that we need the reforms to continue to be the relatively inclusive society that we are. So yes, you've got strike, especially the one of the railway, which I'm sure that is the one you are referring to. But in the meantime, we believe, and there is an overall very strong support for the population in France to reform the country, to actually use the word transformations, because that's really what is at stake, is how we transform a country which has so many to offer to the world and to these own citizens.
Pascal, it's Naira in London. Good day to you. I'm wondering if you think there are any industries in France that would benefit from more consolidation to compete on a global scale.
No, the hard fact is that this industry in France is really highly consolidated. You may not realize, but we've got the largest proportions of Fortune 500 companies in France. In close to 30 of them belongs to this amazing ranking. So really what has been the focus and the emphasis over the years has been to bring back an entrepreneurship spirit into the French culture. And that's really started to pay off. Now, just to give you a sense, when you look at the young adults, the 18 to 25 years old, just 5 years ago, based on an opinion way analysis, right, study, you had less than 10% of them which wanted to become entrepreneurs. Today, 5 years after, in excess of 55% of them wants to become entrepreneurs. All of that to tell you that the cultural shift in the mindset of the people, as well as the willingness to be far more welcoming to business, should help to create growth that eventually will be able to share the benefits with our citizens, right? So I think it's an extremely positive mindset and overall landscape.
Speaking and sticking with the theme of France and Europe looking globally, the fact that we've seen these trade tensions between the US and China, does that open an opportunity for France and Europe to increase its trade with China?
No, the truth of the matter is we're totally under-indexed in our ability to attract yet Asian and especially Chinese investments. In all truth, up to 23% of the total projects of investment in France have been coming from the US, while China was a mere 7 to 8%. So it means that we get a lot more to come to China. And yes, you're right, possibly these geopolitical issues, this trade kind of war or challenges could help us this. But it's really about us being able to demonstrate all the assets we've got to offer to foreign investors. And we understood lately how important this is. Because in fact, foreign investments in France or foreign investors represent less than 1% of the company, but up to 2 million of the jobs. We, for example, discovered that 30% of our exports are coming from people or companies which have been having a foreign ownerships. So really, China will play in it, but it's about us demonstrating that the pool of talent, the infrastructure, the reform that we're doing should help everyone to really see France as a gateway of entry for Europe. That's really what we're after.
We also mentioned C4 at the beginning. You're a big part of that. Tell us, through your work at C4, what you've discovered about what's unique about France, where France is leading the way in the world.
It was very easy. A few years back, I quit Apple after an amazing journey for 13 years. It was essentially a year after the death of Steve Jobs. And I thought that essentially I should invest my time and my focus on these young startups. And having seen the talents I met in Paris, but also in all the regions, we decided with a set of friends to really create a venture firms. and essentially dedicate in excess of half of our investment to France, because that's where AI, cybersecurity, the share economy is really coming to fruition. There is an excess of 10,000 companies which has been created. All the young kids really want to create startups, and we need also to fuel the growth of this large company. So that's really what I've been experimenting as an investor, and finding out that the technology is certainly the best way to express some of the French talents, especially in IA when we talk about the future.
Pascal, also looking to the future, the EU trying to salvage some sort of deal with Iran at the moment at a summit in Sofia. Realistically, though, will French and other European companies not want to risk cutting ties with the US in favour of Iran?
I'm not sure I've got a lot to add to what our president has been stating just a few hours back, but it's clear that what is important is that the Union has a joint front in front of these issues. And that we basically try essentially to save the best possible the free trade as well as peace overall. We are very cognizant of the fact that we are an amazing entry gate for Europe, but we're not far distance from the Arab world, not talking about Africa. And we've got historic link with all of these countries. So our role in Europe is essentially to make sure that we basically bring a tone, a sense of responsibility to ensure that we continue on the peace and the free trade, which we know, we're convinced is bringing essentially wealth to all of our citizens. So that's really what I can say. And I will leave to my president to essentially express himself on the subject like he did early on.